I've written crafts. This was a freelance story with Victoria Magazine, and it was about, I know nothing about making needlepoint stockings, but I've also discovered over the years that you don't really have to know these topics as long as you can find the people who do know and listen really carefully and answer questions. I mean, ask the right questions. You can write about anything. I mean, anything. I've written about surgeries. I've written about sorry? Pond scum. I've been a pond scum editor, and Deborah was the mule editor. And in fact, here we are. Progressive Farmer is still hiring me on occasion, but they're still thinking of me in terms of family stuff. Like I'm writing about how being a kid on a farm, you learn all kinds of stuff that's useful in life. Actually, I think that was this one. One more. This is a Florida Living. This was the kind of thing that I was an editor for before, except for Tennessee Living. And it's like just a little mini magazine. This is just the one article. But it had its own little topic, its own little heading. And, that was fun.
That was part of you as a staffer?
No, actually I got that after I had been freelancing. But, okay. So what I was going to say about that, about being online, is I have made myself become, well, first of all, I should say that if you don't have a resume, do y'all have a resume? Everybody have a resume? Okay. If you don't have one, put one together, because it's going to come up more and more often, even for freelancing, even if I'm just trying to, write an article for them, they want a resume, which surprised me. I didn't know that they would want that. And the other thing is I've made it so that I can customize it to whoever I'm pitching to. If I'm pitching a story about books or an author, then I make sure that all the stuff that is book related that I've done is front and center, that they see that first. I also have different versions. I'll pass these on. I have a one-pager, which is usually all anybody really wants. It's just basic information. It doesn't have years on it. It doesn't have anything. It's just, here's what I've done. Then I have one that is way more detailed than anybody probably ever wants, and it's just text though. It's just here are the basics with the years and blah 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 blah. More than you ever want. And here is the super duper. You've got to really be in love with Dorman Hickson to even want to look at this thing. But I try to make it interesting by having a visual element to it. So. Someone who's very close to me told me that it was a frustrating process for her to look at this resume because when you click on it, you don't get the story. And she wanted to read some of the stories. And so that bothered her. But to me, I'm looking at this more as this is one that I would actually mail to an editor. After I've talked to them and, we've had a little understanding and they said, well, tell me more about your stuff. I'll say, okay, well, let me actually send you snail mail a resume and I'll send you this one. And then in terms of being online, I have several profiles posted, which, believe it or not, have actually led to some work. I mentioned the Alabama Media Professionals thing. I also have one on LinkedIn. Are y'all familiar with LinkedIn? Okay, I know it's old people stuff. It's like, Facebook is, what do they call it? Your Facebook for your social media stuff, which has gotten to be too old now for kids. They like to tweet instead. And then you have LinkedIn, which is like old people. But this really is more, it is more of a professional thing. The LinkedIn deal is where a lot of employers look. And it's really more about finding jobs as opposed to freelance work. But I have one. And then I have an online thing for Plaxo. Are y'all familiar with Plaxo? It's just another, employer website type thing that it allows you to, for free, to set up a profile. So I did that. And then I am a member of MediaBistro.com. Are y'all familiar with that?
Yeah, didn't we use that last semester? Yeah, you used to find information on
The resources. It's a good resource. It really is and it's free. They do have a membership you can pay for, which I do, because I think it's like something like $50 a year or something. And if you do that, then you have more access to what they call the avant-garde, more useful information. And you can post your profile, which I did, you know. And one of the articles I read said, should you use your picture? This was for LinkedIn, and it said, should you have a picture? Yes, definitely have a picture. Get over it. If you don't like the way you look, it makes it personal, and you need to have your picture on these things. Let's see. And the questions they ask from LinkedIn is, what exactly do you do with the LinkedIn page? Should you just add everyone you know to your network? How detailed should job descriptions be? Do you really need a photo? Most importantly, how do you use information on the site to actually land a job? And then this article answers these questions where it says, yes, you need to personalize your profile, including adding a photo. You need to get keyword friendly. Do y'all know what that means? Keyword friendly? Well, you probably know more than I do about this, but it is about using industry keywords that help them when they do the search. What's it called? SE something? I've forgotten what the term is, but it's like when Google does searches, it looks for keywords. So they want you to use that in your LinkedIn profile. So based on this article, I need to go back and do some work on mine, because I don't have it, I have not used this information. It says you should pimp your page. Put your public profile hyperlink in your email. So when you're sending an email, you should have at the bottom of it, along with signing your name, you should have a link to your public profiles. And I do have that. At the end of my emails, anybody that wants to can go to these things I'm passing around. All they got to do is click it. Or they can go to Amazon.com, where the book I'm writing is being pre-sold. Or, there's all these links at the end of it. My email, my signature on the email is about that long now, but let's see. Oh, on the recommendations on the LinkedIn thing, it says, don't expect everyone to get in line to talk about all the wonderful things you did at your last job. Instead, and this goes back to being nice to people, take the time to write a short recommendation for someone else, and that person is more likely to reciprocate. So, start off by writing for other people nice things about people you've worked with, and they'll probably do the same thing for you. Let's see. So educate yourself on various platforms, get your presence online, be prepared to customize your resume, subscribe to helpful emails or newsletters or blogs, and be careful about that, because I myself have been guilty of going in at 8 o'clock in the morning before I started writing in the morning, and at 4:30 in the afternoon I look up and I go, oh my gosh, all I have done all day long is open my emails with newsletters and read these interesting articles and print this stuff out about what I'm going to be doing, and I hadn't actually done anything. Anybody else done that? It's very, very easy. It's so easy to get sucked into being online and thinking you're actually accomplishing something, and yeah, there is an element of usefulness to it because you're reading about stuff that's pertinent to you, but you're not actually producing anything either, and you've wasted a lot of time. So that goes back to setting a time for yourself to write and sticking with it. Let's see. Okay. Some people succeed if you want to go into freelancing. Some people succeed by specializing. Deborah with her food. I have another friend who worked for the Arthritis Foundation in Atlanta. And when she left that job, they kept her as a contract person, so she produces copy for them. But then she took that, and it became, she became, quote, a medical writer. Now, she didn't have a medical degree of any sort, but she has taught at physicians' conferences. She's been on stage telling them how to communicate and how to tell their stories and how to, do this and that. And, it's pretty funny to me because she's like about this tall, and she's kind of got a Mickey Mouse voice, and she didn't have a degree, and she's sitting there telling all these doctors. But, again, confidence, that really goes a long way. Let's see. It is still who you know. So what I would say about that, what somebody told me recently to do, is make a list of 100 people that you know and try to think out of the box, not just your friends, but older people, people your parents know, people your grandmothers know, people down the street, people. Make a 100 list. Hopefully you have a phone number or some way to contact them, and you start contacting them, especially if you're in the job market, and you start calling them. And you don't do emails, because emails are too easy to reject. It's really a hard thing. This is, again, where you're trying to sell yourself. I just learned this last week, and I've started making my list. And you say, I don't know if you remember me, but, my grandmother, blah, 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 you remember me? And, oh, yeah, I remember you, cute little girl, cute little guy, yeah, I remember you. Well, I have just, I'm at ETSU, and I'm in classes, and I'm trying to be a writer, and I just wondered if you know of anybody that needs a writer, because I'm looking for work. And they will bend over backwards to try to help you, because you've been sweet, and you've called them, and, they will rack their brain to think of somebody that maybe they could write for, And even if it's just something like, my church has been needing a brochure, and we need somebody. Think about doing it if you have the time and can do it, because I was telling Deborah, that very scenario came up this week for me. My church is looking, they need somebody to write a brochure. Well, I've never done a brochure. I have never, that just never has come up. But I'm going to try to help them with it, because I will learn how to do a brochure. So the next time it comes up in my painting world, I can say, oh yes, I've done a brochure. I know all about it, So, you have to pick and choose, and y'all are at an age now where you can do free work and, build your resume, and that's a great thing. I would ask you, when you get older and you are able to be in paying positions, if you would consider not working for free, not taking minimum payment, $100 to do this or that, because right now it's great and it's fine, but it really long-term hurts the profession for people to think, well, we're not going to pay, decent money for somebody to do this, because we can get a writer to do it for $50, because there's so many guys out there, and they can, because so many people will do it. And I'm not saying that you shouldn't. I think at this point in your life, that is a good way to build up your portfolio. But when you get to be my age, and you're out there looking for work, and they're looking and they're going, well, we're not going to pay you, $1 a word, let's say, which has been the standard forever, and it's like, okay, if you can get $1 a word, that's great. And they don't consider, well, I have a lot of experience, and I do know how to write, and you're not going to have to, do a lot of work on it. I don't know, in this day and age, money talks, so it's just something to think about.